Hey all, welcome back to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And man, what a weekend this has been. Like, I don't know if you do a lot of doom scrolling, but this was like, I don't know, Mardi Gras for doom scrolling this weekend.
Oh, man. So it's funny you say that because I have had sinus trouble and could not get myself to look at a screen as a result. Like, you know how it's like sometimes you just feel it's like your eyes go cross-eyed and it's just like focusing hurts? Yeah, that's where I was. Probably for the best from the sound of it.
Yeah, I mean, between Afghanistan, terrible weather all across the country in various different regards, a shit ton of fire, and the Proud Boys in California stabbed their third person in about a month.
Oh, what? That missed me.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much going. Yeah, there was an anti-vax rally at City Hall in Los Angeles, and the Proud Boys very happily joined the anti-vaxxer movement, and yeah, dude got stabbed a bunch.
So that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, so I figured, with everything that was going on this weekend, and just to give myself a break due to staying up at like till 4 a.m, just seeing what like all my favorite journalists had to say, and just being like, oh, it's all terrible, great, wonderful. I decided we were going to try to find a fun, bummer-free episode.
It's a bummer-free episode.
This is 2% bummer-free. There's going to be a couple bummers, but we have to set up the bummers to get to the good stuff.
Yeah, hold on. Can we at least go for like 30% bummer-free?
I messed that up. 2% of the episode is bummers. The other 98% is all wins, baby.
So whereas listeners are used to the whole milk edition of bummer,
it's vitamin
episodes.
D for duh. No, this is like the 2% chocolate milk. We're going to have a,
Dope.
It can help you ignore everything that's bad for at least a little bit.
This is great. This sounds like we're really honing in on our grift mentalities, by the by. You listen to just one episode of Gadfly every week.
Look, man, I'm not going to say that we cure COVID, but...
Because legally, I can't.
Legally, I think I can imply that certain variants respond well.
It definitely won't give you COVID.
Oh, God. Well, I mean...
As far as we know.
I'm trying to think of all the ways it could at this point. I really don't know.
You're listening to it on your headphones, walking around in a mall.
Yeah. I mean, we're not telling people to do that, at least till now.
No. But let's be clear.
Also, how many people are going to be in a mall? Let's be real.
People who are very much at risk for COVID because they still live in the 90s. I don't know.
All right. Fair enough. Well, yeah. I mean, all right. So we used up at least 0.5% of our bummers just on that. So we gotta be sleek from here on out. We gotta be like aerodynamic in our calmness.
Oh no. Okay. I'm ready.
So yeah. So I was essentially just like, all right, what's the easiest way to try to find a happy story? So I Googled goofy names for political candidates. And of course, I ended up getting a lot of weird stuff like Dick Balls ran for mayor, and shit like that.
So we're talking about him, right?
Yeah, we're talking about Richard Balls. No, we're talking about a name that ended up coming up at the bottom of the list right when I was about to give up because I was getting frustrated with this list a 13-year-old boy put together. And then a name popped up that was so amazing that I had to dive in to find out what this person was about, and ended up uncovering a whole story that I didn't expect to be as big and as unique as it was.
Ooh.
So by pure luck, here's our story of counterculture wholesomeness. And to kick things off, we kind of have to go back all the way to 1930. It was this year, at 91 7th Avenue South in Greenwich Village, New York City, a man by the name of Vincent Bonavia would open a little tea room by the name of Bonnie's Stonewall Inn. Now, it was a typical little small plates and tea sort of place, by which I mean it was a speakeasy and they were selling illegal booze at all times.
Yay!
Thanks, Vinny. You did it again. Within the year, it would be raided by prohibition agents, but as were most speakeasies at the time, they just kind of ordered a new round of booze and just, rolled the dice for a while.
Yeah.
So the restaurant ended up lasting after prohibition, and the year after it was done, Vincent would pack up stakes and move his now legal bar further west to 53 Christopher Street. So the location had formerly been a pair of horse stables, but with New York realty being what it is, I imagine taking what you can get and working with it was probably about the best option available. So Vincent turned the space into a full restaurant and even housed a bakery on the premises. Bonnie's would operate for 3 full decades until a fire gutted the bar, causing Vincent to take his insurance money and just walk away from the industry. The burnt out space would sit there for about 2 years until Tony Loria, a fine upstanding businessman of Italian heritage, saw an opportunity to expand the wealth of a private social organization to which he belonged. By that I mean the mob bought it.
Yay!
What Tony planned to do with it was something that few people dared to do in the city. He was about to turn the Stonewall Inn into a bar that catered specifically to gay clientele.
That's Stonewall.
This is partially going to be the story of Stonewall, which I'm using all of my bummer currency on because the story of Stonewall is very interesting, is a monumental moment in LGBTQ plus history, and the things leading up to it are a severe bummer.
Oh.
So one of the main reasons in New York that it was so risky to run a bar that catered to gay individuals was that while being homosexual was no longer a crime in New York, it was still illegal to offer liquor licenses to a place that ran, quote, a disorderly house. So this is typically going to involve, say, anything that has potential sex work or anything of that sort. And the assumption being, oh, there are gay men here. Well, clearly sex is going to happen. So
Sure.
by default, no liquor license.
It's like this is a brothel by another name.
Exactly. And like I said, being gay wasn't a crime, but that didn't stop cops from citing people for, quote, indecent contact and then shutting down any bar that they wanted. From what I was reading in a lot of the research that was online is that there are bars that if a undercover cop heard a bartender call another guy honey, he would immediately shut down the bar, cite it for indecent contact, and just call it a day.
Yikes. And the person was just saying, like, here's your hot toddy. Do you want more honey?
Shut it the fuck down.
What was it actually like? Was homosexuality because I'm assuming in parts of America it was criminalized, or at least certainly like sodomy laws were used.
Well, and that's the sticky wicket of it, is like being gay in and of itself, not a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Sodomy, yeah, that's a crime. So if you were in a non-sexual relationship with another person of the same sex, that's totally legal. Anything after that, I mean, especially since sodomy counted as both oral and anal sex by definition. Yeah, it gets really weird when you start looking into Lawrence v. Texas and you see people arguing about oral sodomy. It's a little hard to wrap your brain around that when you know the old term for it.
Well, and I think I only remember this from Mindhunter, which I only watched the first season of, but at one point it's definitely pointed out that the receiving of oral sex for women and the giving of it from men was, I think, in the DSM men book as like deviant behavior.
Oh, yeah. The DSV 3, I think it was. I think we're at 4.
Okay.
But yeah, there were a lot of things in that old book. The DSV is a book that is incredibly thick and defines every single mental illness known to man. And back in the 50s, it included just literally everything. It's like, are you
communism?
Are you being a woman? Sorry, that's half the book. So it created a lot of problems in New York that, bars had to be really, really careful, and the risk of even serving someone who was gay might end up shutting down your entire bar. So one of the advantages that this gave the mafia is like, well, we have no chance of getting a liquor license for this bar, so why follow any other laws for this?
I love it. It's like, no, we're already illegal.
Exactly.
So that policeman's on the take anyway.
Well, yeah, and so essentially with the bar, with the Stonewall, it was noted for having no fire exits. It had no running water behind the bar. To clean dishes, it was literally dip a glass in an old tub of water, serve whatever comes next.
Okay, that's disgusting, and the clientele absolutely deserve better.
Oh, 100%.
That's where I'm like, oh wait, no, shut it down. This is fucked up.
Well, and it gets worse because the toilets were known for being temperamental at best.
Oh no.
And like, it's bad enough to have to go to the bathroom in a fucking bar.
Yeah, this ain't CBGBs, guys.
No. Yeah, at least like the 4 a.m. bars in Chicago, it's just like, well, if I put some plexiglass between myself, it might be okay. Well, you know what, I'll just go to an alley. But so essentially the mob was operating this sort of thing and running it as much of a low of a cost as possible. They would also encourage bartenders, and by encourage, I mean order in severe fashion, to water down the drinks like fucking crazy.
Ooh!
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? Go to the other gay bar in town? But I mean, they also realized they couldn't just completely fleece everyone who was coming in. So they offered one thing that no other gay bar in the city was offering, and that was dancing. Because if there was anything that would cause a vice cop to immediately shut down a bar, it would be 2 dudes or 2 women dancing with each other.
Yeah, that's actual contact. That's not a bartender calling you honey.
Exactly. And so the mob was like, fuck it, we got to get people in here somehow. So they operated 2 dance floors, one on 51 Christopher Street, one at 53 Christopher Street. Both dance floors had their own bar. The bathrooms were right between both dance floors. So I really hope that, the drainage system was good.
Yeah, that there was one.
Yeah. But one of the ways that they also guaranteed to keep clientele safe was the only way that you could get in was if the bouncer knew you, or if a regular customer vouched for someone new.
Oh.
If that wasn't the case, you could not get in.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. And so there was at least some decent shit going on. But also, like you said, yeah, police were very much on the payroll. Police would come by once a week, pick up their bribes, and then in exchange for that bribe, they wouldn't guarantee that they weren't going to do raids. But if they did raids, no one would be arrested for the most part. And they would do their raids early on in the day so that they could restock alcohol before the night shift started.
Right.
From what I was reading, essentially what they would do is they would hide cases of booze in a car down the street because they would always get tipped when the raid was going to happen. And then once the raid was done, they'd run down to the car, restock the bar, and just continue on as if nothing happened.
Yeah, I love this. I also, my heart goes out to like the 4 people who still got stuck in that like masquerade raid. Just like,
Yeah.
Damn it. God.
Yeah. Well, and the other really shitty thing is that the folks who would be arrested would typically be people who were dressed in ways that were not heteronormative. If you were dressed in drag, if you had any form of makeup, you would be immediately arrested. If you were a woman attending Stonewall, you had to be wearing at least 3 items of feminine clothing. Otherwise, the cops would arrest you.
Oof.
Yeah. But for the most part, compared to everywhere else, it was a place that you could at least have some modicum of safety and actually be able to dance. And the Stonewall ended up operating very strongly for a solid 2 years, becoming the place to go if you were gay in New York City. But the thing, though, is, the mob being the mob, you always have to look for the next side hustle. You got to figure out what's going to be your next thing. And their next thing ended up being finding out who all the rich people were who were going to Stonewall and then blackmailing them.
Oh my God.
So they started getting a lot of folks from Wall Street, a lot of businessmen, things like that. And yeah, the mob would figure out who they were, follow them home, and then be like, hey, we would like some extra money. This is not negotiable.
Oof, just in case people were thinking like, yeah, the mob.
Yeah. I mean,
bring in these places where people could meet and be themselves.
And that's the thing, is like the Genovese family has a very weird history when it comes to the LGBT community in New York City. In the 50s, Anna Genovese, who was the second wife of Vito Genovese, she made her living running drag shows in the 50s. And is considered to be like one of the people who really pushed the culture at the time to make it less taboo and less stigmatized. And granted, she would end up turning on folks when she got arrested in 1953, but it's still a thing that she did and pushed very heavily.
Yeah.
And then in the 60s, when the mafia bought Stonewall, they actually owned a lot of the gay bars in Greenwich and made it one of their stock and trade legal-ish businesses that they ran for a while. But the problem is, when you start blackmailing people, God's going to find out. And by God, I mean the NYPD.
I thought you were going to say the IRS.
Oh God, no. The IRS has no part in this. They are busy doing other shit. But yeah, essentially the NYPD found out that the mafia was making extra money apart from the bar, and they got furious that they weren't getting a cut of that money also. Because technically that's Stonewall money, and technically that should be the cops, and technically we want to beat up some people.
There's something so purely New York capitalism about all of this, like particular to New York City and its history as like a Dutch colony, where it's like, you pray to who? Fuck it. Do you have money? Great. We're in business. Yeah, we're not like those uptight people in Massachusetts. Fuck no.
Man, whatever. I will rob anyone. That is the New York motto. It has a pigeon, a rat with a pizza, and 2 fingers.
Yeah, 2 middle fingers high up.
The center is an F train, and it's always running late.
The center is the G train. What? You don't see it? That's the point.
That's about right. Oh, man. Oh, New York, you wonderful, terrible place. So on June 28th in 1969, at 1:20 in the morning, the cops raided the bar and started arresting everyone that they could within reason. And the thing, though, is the Vice Squad got a little too antsy, and they confiscated the booze and arrested people long before any cars had arrived to drive them off, which ended up leading to a bunch of patrons who hadn't been arrested just standing outside with the cops awkwardly waiting for their rides.
Yeah, and it's not like they were drunk off of this watered down booze. They were just mad.
Yeah, the adrenaline really cuts through pop-off at some point. And so eventually the crowd starts growing bigger and bigger, because when you're in a city and you see a large crowd of drunk, angry people, you kind of start to get involved to try to figure out what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And so as people started finding out, people got more and more agitated. And the cops, realizing they were fucked, retreated back into the bar and barricaded themselves inside. A bar that, I will remind you, had only one way in and one way out.
Yeah, no fire exits. No clean water.
I imagine there is a cop in there who's just like, guys, we have to cite them for fire hazards. I know that's not number 1 on our list, but
I just want to say it out loud so we remember.
Let's talk to the one firefighter who doesn't swear at us when we try to talk to them, and we'll get it noted down. And so they're locked inside the bar. Everyone's freaking out, and eventually more cop cars arrive. But the thing is, the cops inside are too scared to come out, and it took 45 minutes for their cop brethren to convince them to come out that everything was gonna be okay. And so eventually the cops worked up their courage and exited the Stonewall with the folks they had arrested, which did not go as planned from the jump. mainly because the cops made the mistake of arresting a complete badass by the name of Storme de Larveray. Now, Storme was born in 1920 in New Orleans, Louisiana, to a white father and a black mother. Now, this would normally be a thing where it's like, oh, this is, a rare relationship, and I'm sure it was very loving and wonderful. And the thing that gets a little finicky about it is her mother was the servant of the man who had impregnated her. And they would eventually get married, but it's also another thing that should be noted that Storme was pretty quickly hired on to also be a maid for this guy's family. So it's a lot of stuff that does not feel right, and knowing the time and knowing the place does not bode well.
Oh, yeah, no. And depending on how old the father was, there's a good chance that he at least had family if he himself does not remember like parts of the Civil War.
Yeah. So when Storme became a teenager, she literally ran away and joined the circus. She became a horse riding stunt woman for the Ringling Brothers Circus and did that until a fall ended her career. And from there, she would shift her career into music shortly thereafter, performing as a jazz singer that toured Europe. After this, she claims that she worked as a bodyguard for the mob in Chicago and then moved to New York City to find her musical calling. And Storme had been cast as, quote, the one girl in the Jewel Box Review, an early drag show where she was the master of ceremonies and performed in male drag. And throughout the 60s, this was Storme's career, singing and performing in the Review's regular slot at the Apollo Theater. And on June 28th, she would find herself at Stonewall, and due to her not wearing the legally recommended 3 articles of women's clothing, was arrested, and then held hostage by the cops inside the Stonewall Inn for at least an hour. So by the time the cops decided they were brave enough to go outside and try to put Storme in the car, she made them fucking work for it. So when she comes out, there are 4 cops holding on to her, trying to get her to the car. And she is repeatedly breaking free from them. And at one point, punches a cop in the face while handcuffed.
Oh my God.
And so the cops respond by hitting her in the head with a baton, causing her to start bleeding like crazy.
Yikes.
She called to the crowd screaming, quote, "Why don't you guys do something?" She was then pushed to the ground and literally thrown into the back of a cop car, which led the crowd to fucking lose it. The rebellion against the police would last for 2 full nights, culminating in Marsha P. Johnson, Zazu Nova, and Jackie Hormona dropping a bag of bricks onto the hood of a cop car from a streetlight. And before we move on, I would like to note that after all of this, Storme would work as a bouncer at various lesbian bars until the age of 85. She had a concealed carry permit, and she used this permit to patrol the village with a gun to ensure the safety of all other lesbians in the neighborhood.
I'm a little in love.
She's kind of wonderful. There are pictures online of her performing in male drag, and it's like she's got this crooner look that looks really fucking badass. Apparently she had this amazing baritone.
She's cute.
Yeah. And she would end up living until 2014, passing at the age of 93. Yeah, Storme is probably one of the greatest badasses that seldom gets talked about during Stonewall. Then again, I mean, there's not a lot of great representation of Stonewall, especially that Roland Emmerich did a Stonewall movie that pretty much whitewashed everything that happened.
Yeah.
And then afterwards said, well, Stonewall was a white event, so...
It was like, Marsha, care to comment?
Yeah. Yeah, Marsha ended up becoming a fictionalized character named Queen Kong, which...
Shut up!
Yeah.
Yikes!
Yeah.
Yikes!
It's if anyone has actually been canceled, I kind of feel like it was Roland Emmerich after that movie, because I don't think he's made anything since.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Richard Lawson came after him with Teeth Bear.
Yeah, it's a very fucked up thing, and it's kind of messed up that Stonewall was so recent, and the common knowledge of it is still so incredibly unknown.
Mm-hmm. And it's written about it in the sense that it's like kind of hazy, and it could be in the 40s, it could be in the 20s, but it's like it was 1969.
Yeah, and I mean, admittedly, going into this, I pretty much knew about Marsha P. Johnson. I didn't know about much anything else. I didn't know about Storme de Larveray and like all the stuff that she did. And I will say one of the things about her is that no one's been able to prove that she was the one who started fighting with the cops, but she's always said that it was her, and there are numerous friends who said it was her. It's just there's no like visual concrete evidence that it is 100% her.
Right.
So I choose to believe it was her, because
I choose to believe it's the person with the bodyguard history.
Exactly. Yeah. If you were an 85-year-old bouncer, yes, I will believe.
Yes.
You have the gun. I believe you. So this ends up kicking off a pretty big moment in LGBTQ history, because at the time, even members of the community found the riots to be distasteful and unhelpful. Most notably amongst this group are members of the Medicine Society. So the Medicine Society was founded in 1950 and was one of the earliest gay rights organizations in America. It was founded by communist Harry Hay in Los Angeles, and the group was highly influential in the early days of the movement. But by the late 60s, they were beginning to be viewed as a bit out of touch. So Randy Wicker, who was an early member of the Medicine Society, defined pretty well one of the biggest issues between the society and the protesters at Stonewall. Wicker and others were more interested in making folks see no difference between homosexual people and heterosexual people, to the point that anything other than heteronormative behavior was viewed as dangerous to the cause. So any sort of effeminate behavior, any sort of like loud volume of talking, any sort of lisping, anything that was considered to be other than what a man is expected to do was essentially forbidden and was meant to be pushed aside and forgotten until gay rights are achieved, then maybe we can talk about it. So when the folks at Stonewall were not just acting contrary to gender norms, but were proud of themselves, it caused a lot of people in the Medicine Society to disavow Stonewall. One of the biggest moments from Stonewall, or one of the bigger images, is that a lot of the protesters formed a chorus line in front of the cops and started doing like a kick line to taunt them.
Amazing.
Yeah, they were just like, that's chop some wood, damn it. This is not helping. Which I find funny because, Stonewall helped a lot. It kicked off pretty much the major parts of the movement, mainly because it caused people to just push aside the Medicine Society.
Right.
And in retaliation, the Gay Liberation Front was founded. So despite having just been founded, the GLF got to fucking work. And one of the things that made them so avant-garde and unique is they were one of the first gay rights organizations to actually use the word gay in their name. Because you had the Medicine Society, which was trying to not disavow themselves, but to get people interested by having a name that didn't have any LGBT names to it. There was the Daughters of Bilitis, I believe it is, was the lesbian side of that as well. But yeah, the whole goal was just like, we bring people in with the name and then we teach from there. And so the Gay Liberation Front is just like, no, we're here, we're here, get used to it.
Yeah.
They staged marches in honor of Stonewall. They pushed a platform of gay rights. They had huge support for the Black Panther Party. They denounced racism and capitalism and fought against traditional gender roles and family expectations. They were very big on the idea that if one group of people aren't free, then no one is free. So if we are going to make any change, we all have to work together. And from just this one chapter in New York City, the org grew exponentially, which takes us to where our story of today actually begins.
Ooh.
Little college town of Iowa City, Iowa, home of the University of Iowa. Go Iowa.
Yeah, go Hawkeyes.
But also to the home of a central figure of our political story, a dude by the name of Ken Bunch. In the fall semester of 1970, Ken and his friends Dean Blake, Raymond Perry, and Rick Graff took it upon themselves to start their own branch of the GLF on the University of Iowa campus. The university would shortly thereafter recognize them as an official student group, becoming the first gay organization in the country to be recognized by a state university. But this also meant they got funding from the school, a guaranteed space to hold meetings, and more than anything, legitimacy. Now, I will say too, a lot of this research that I got from here comes from a University of Iowa student who graduated in 2019 named Michael Steffen. So thank you very much for your research.
Yay, Michael Steffen.
So they set to work hosting events on campus, as well as doing some good old-fashioned protests. Within a month, the University of Iowa GLF would make it onto the NBC Evening News. And they did so by being a part of the university's homecoming parade. They rented themselves a Cadillac. I think from the picture, it looks like about 16 people got into it. So you had people in the driver's seat, people were sitting on the hood, on the trunk.
Dude, those Cadillacs were tanks back then too. Like this doesn't totally surprise me.
Oh no, this thing could have ended time with its size. So they took part in the parade. They threw Hershey's Kisses to the crowd and chanted pro-gay slogans. And then the university just got all the hate mail.
Oh.
A lot of people demanded the University of Iowa apologize and punish the GLF for corrupting the children or some other bullshit. And while the university did mostly reply that all student groups are allowed in the parade, so I don't know, maybe get a life, University President Sandy Boyd also assured people not to worry because young people always support hopeless causes. Once they enter the real world, they'll see how tough it is and give up.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel seen, but also...
I mean, look, he described hippies very well. Oh, this is hard, man? Well, fuck it. I guess a business degree. Fuck it. I guess I'll do that.
Guess I'll go to law school.
I mean, Woodstock was great, but have you seen these capital gains?
No!
It burns me that Sandy Boyd was so right about that particular generation. But yeah, he tells people to shut up, but then he's somewhat right. So despite the public upheaval, the University of Iowa GLF would operate as any other student group for quite some time. They hosted dances, social hours, and supplied mental health support for the gay population on campus. They would also go to war with the student senate for a little bit.
Yes.
There would be a number of candidates. I don't remember the name of the main dude, but I do know his name was Woody, which I find hilarious. And Woody's whole thing was he was just like, I don't like the GLF. Vote for me for Senate. And he's like, they're getting all this fucking money. It's like thousands and thousands of dollars. So if you get me in the student senate, they'll get nothing. And the university forced him to apologize after he won his election, because once he got in there, just like, they get $1,000 a year, bro. Fucking cool it.
This position means nothing.
Yeah, it's like, it's really weird. So the state legislature decides how much money the university gets. The university decides how much of that money goes to student groups, and then the student senate decides how much of that money goes to each group. And this particular year that Woody ran, the student senate ended up getting a lot less money than they expected. So they gave just a little bit more money to the student senate and cut the budget of all minority groups on campus.
Woof.
Yeah, and so
Woof.
they all got together and fought against them. Yeah, if I was reading right, the GLF went from having $1,000 a year to about 100, and the Lesbian Alliance went from having $500 to nothing.
I appreciate how the money was doled out in a way reminiscent to how women would be paid once they left college. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Fuck your Title IX.
And this was a whole thing too that I mean is really important, especially for GLBT history, is that there was a bit of a schism between the gay movement and the lesbian movement, because as the lesbian movement put it so often, it's like, you're just fighting for sexual freedom. We're fighting for gender and sexual freedom. We have other stuff we have to work on too.
Right. Just because you're gay doesn't mean you like hate us as women any less than your heteronormative counterparts.
Exactly. Yeah. Misogyny is still incredibly strong within the gay population, especially here in Chicago. I mean, it is a thing, not to mention even racism within the white community. So I mean, there's a lot to work on, is what I'm saying. So essentially these organizations all banded together for this moment to go to the student senate and just be like, hey guys, what the fuck's up? maybe money. Yeah. All the organizations did end up taking a cut, but if I remember right, the GLF went from $1,000 to $600, but it was all along the ideas of like, we know you got less money, just don't give yourself more. Make sure everyone gets something. Yeah, and they ended up working out a compromise and forced the student senate to fund the groups.
Suck it, student senate.
Yeah, you fuckers. No one cares. No one has ever cared. But the group would also end up tangentially supporting Ken Bunch's new project, a drag group called the Sugar Plum Fairies. Now, according to Ken, the group came about when he was trying to come up with a uniform that they could all use as costumes for their performances. And he would eventually get a lead on something truly blasphemous. Turns out there was a convent in town that kept all the old habits of nuns who had passed. I guess they don't recycle them to new nuns. It's just when they pass, they just order new habits. So Ken...
out of habit.
Yeah,
I could not.
Oh my God. Anyway, so Ken went to the convent, asked if they had any spare habits for a show he was putting on, and got about a half dozen. He didn't tell them what he was going to be using them for, though. And if he had, he definitely would not have gotten them, because their big number included a striptease to the University of Iowa fight song, where they would rip off the habits and they would be wearing black lingerie underneath. And apparently, it was a huge hit.
Dusty, the money I would spend to go see this in person, like if I could travel back in time, but even if not, like, yeah, I would in a heartbeat get tickets to see that.
I bet it was a great fucking show. And they performed it regularly at bars on campus. I bet it was fucking great. And Ken even developed a whole character for his nun, a character by the name of Sister Vicious Power Hungry Bitch, or Sister Vicious PHB for short.
I love it.
So the shows would run for a few years, but eventually you gotta leave your college town. And like so many other gay men of the era, Ken moved to the Castro district of San Francisco. And you bet your ass he brought those nun habits with him. But for the most part, they just kind of sat in his closet, waiting for a cause worthy of their status. And that day would come in 1979. You see, the Castro district in San Francisco, there was a bit of a fad that had taken over the neighborhood called the Castro clone. And the phrase was directed to gay fellows in the neighborhood who had taken to dressing hyper-masculine. The working class fashion would include plaid shirts, blue jeans, Freddie Mercury-style mustaches, and shortcut hair. One of the big upsides to this look, though, is that it offered a lot of accessibility. The clothing was cheap, hair was relatively easy to maintain, and it passed pretty much any dress code that the bars might have. And not only that, but the more people who adopted the look, the more it allowed the gay community to be more visible, to be able to identify each other and to feel more seen. But there were some downsides. For one, it was mainly a look that was aimed towards folks who were physically jacked.
Yeah.
This is a look that would eventually be taken over by bears, or communities of folks who are, larger chest hair having bearded men. But at this time, it was very much of just like, oh, let's get the tightest shirts. Let's get these jeans. Let's hop in the fucking bath and get these things as tight to the fucking legs as you can. And get the fuck out there.
Throw on some Timbs.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. But also, since the look relied so much on hypermasculinity, it forced a number of folks to be mocked for not fitting into that expected gender. Once again, the same shit that the GLF had tried to fight after the Mattachine Society had essentially shamed them for being themselves. So fed up with the, quote, conformist atmosphere of the neighborhood, Ken went out with his college friend Fred Brungard and broke gold, but instead of their usual clothes, they marched down the street in nun habits. And the three made their way to the closest nude beach, reportedly with one of them carrying a machine gun for protection.
Oh my God.
They did get a ton of attention, I mean, as you would expect, and were so pleased with the reaction that they received that they started wondering how they could make this a regular thing. In the fall of 1979, Ken, Fred, and their two friends Edmund Guerin and Bill Graham would found their new order. Ken and Fred would reprise their Sugar Plum Fairy monikers, Sister Vicious Power Hungry Bitch and Sister Missionary Position, with Edmund and Graham choosing Sister Hysterectoria and Reverend Mother. And that night, their convent was founded, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
Oh, I love it.
And their mission statement, quote, to promulgate universal joy and expiate stigmatic guilt.
This is warming my little lapsed Catholic heart.
I was going to say, Una, as a lapsed Catholic, what does that phrase mean to you?
Someone who probably maybe grew up with a little bit of like nun teaching or knew someone, and yeah, just all the humor that comes with it from shared trauma.
Now, knowing what we know about the last alternative art collective that we talked about, the Unabomber for President people, there are so many ways that a group like this could take a sudden turn for the uncomfortable and inappropriate. And sure, there is the traditional Catholic blasphemy going on, but if you can get beyond that, I assure you, everything from here on out is just peaches and cream. It's going to be fine. There are going to be no missteps. So just hop in the bubble bath, grab yourself, a cool something. It's going to be okay.
Love it. Oh, yeah. Rent that movie with Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah. The Sister Act.
Yeah.
Then Sister Act 2. Oh no, the mom.
Back in the Habit.
So going into 1980, word of the sisters spread amongst friends, and the group began to gain more and more members. Sister Hysterectoria would create the group's signature habits, which was a mix of 14th century Flemish and French styles, including what they would dub ear brassiers, which was pretty much, just a big bra on your head, only like with the cups being perfectly spherical. But yeah, essentially just worn on the top of your head like a wimple.
Okay.
So new member Sister Succuba, who was also a calligrapher, would create the group's logo as well as the group's flag, which was a simple black background with the white calligraphy of the full name. And with all the basics out of the way, the nuns got to fucking work. Their first action would be a protest on the 1-year anniversary of the accident at 3 Mile Island. And as a quick summary, 3 Mile Island was a nuclear power plant near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania that very nearly became America's Chernobyl. And when I started reading into it, it was a lot worse than I had ever known it was. So 11 years after the power plant went live, a partial core meltdown would occur due to a fluke accident during routine maintenance. I'm just going to be as unscientific with this as possible. There was gunk in the pipes. Typically, there's a process to get that gunk out of the pipes. It wasn't working this time, so they put some compressed air in the pipes, got the gunk out, but the compressed air got into a valve, which caused a meltdown, a partial meltdown. And no one noticed for how long? Let's see here. 2 hours. No one noticed a partial meltdown for 2 hours. Is essentially when the morning shift came in and some guy was like, this isn't looking okay.
These numbers aren't right.
Wait a minute. What is it in Chernobyl? This is like 3 Rotkin? It's not great. Could be worse.
Christ.
But yeah, essentially they were like, oh no, something's happening. And it would take, I believe it was 3 days of constant watching, but eventually they got it contained. No one got hurt. But the scare of how things could have gotten and the honest to God incompetence of the people involved led to a lot of people becoming understandably terrified of nuclear power. So 1 year after 3 Mile Island, there were a ton of protests and the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence made the scene. At the protest, they performed their first of many Catholic-themed performances. This one entitled Rosary in Time of Nuclear Peril. And you can watch the whole thing on YouTube. They did a new rendition of it in 2009. And I mean, I'm not Catholic, so I'm probably not getting a lot of the references. It just kind of seemed like they were listing off things, which I assume that's kind of what a rosary is just listing saints and listing people.
No, sadly, I'm going to get yelled at by my parents about this. I don't actually know. No, the rosary is like each bead you're doing one of the prayers, either Our Father or the other one. And then so you do that. And it's like, if you look at a rosary, it's like there's 5 beads and then there's like a bead set apart and then there's another 5 beads. So like you get to the bead that's set apart. And I think then you're supposed to do like 5 or 10 of like a different, the other. And so you're just doing that. I mean, it's really like worry beads. Like you're just sort of going into like a meditative state, essentially.
So here's the other detail of what the performance was. So there, from what I watched, it was like, here are the 7 tragedies of nuclear power. Here are like the 5 martyrs of this
Yeah.
and all of that. But while this solemn thing is going on, there is a row of nuns doing a pom-pom routine in the background with black pom-poms.
I love this.
Yeah, pom-poms were very popular with this group. There was they joined the city softball league and apparently played the sheriff's office for one game, and the police looked very uncomfortable.
Yeah, suck it, police.
Yeah,
Batter up.
It's just like all of these nuns with black pom-poms just like shaking them at the fucking sheriff. It's glorious. I love it so much. But sometimes their humor wasn't so subtle. So a side gig they had was dressing in their nun garb and harassing the ever-loving fuck out of evangelicals who made missionary work in the Castro their meaning of life. Like, these missionary groups would show up, they'd tell everyone they were going to hell. They'd get a call as to where these folks were. Everyone would dress up in their nun habits and just start charging at them and chase them out of the Castro.
I'm imagining like a fireman / Ghostbusters setup where they're in a rehabbed fire station. Like, they get the call, they have it up, and then they shimmy down the pole. They're like, we're on our way.
So the thing I think is also important for this visual as well is to also kind of describe the term that made their version of drag more subversive. And it's a term called genderfuck. So I'm going to use the quote from Non-Binary Wiki. Quote, genderfuck seeks to subvert the traditional gender binary or gender roles by mixing traditionally masculine, such as a beard, and traditionally feminine, such as a dress. It literally means to fuck with traditional notions of gender expression or gender roles. So a lot of these guys in nun habits are also going out with like full fucking beards. Probably one of my favorite things that I've seen is a lot of the nuns have dyed their beards this neon green. So it's this eggshell white makeup on their skin.
Yeah, like
beards.
I pulled up some images and they're all fairly recent too. And it's got kind of a like Venetian Carnival vibe to it.
Yeah.
It's like if you are expecting Sister Act,
no.
It is much grander than that.
Yeah.
It is absolutely genderfuck.
And so I imagine if you're like an evangelical from Bakersfield and all of a sudden you see a dozen nuns running at you, you're gonna want to run the other way.
It's gonna be I can see something terrifying about that if you're from like small town Nowheresville on a mission, pun intended, and like the same way that like old frescoes of what hell look like. It's like, yeah, like the drawings are a little not amateurish, obviously, but certainly like grotesque in a rough way. I can see that being like, am I hallucinating? Like all these people like running up toward me?
Exactly. And one of the sisters in an interview stated as well that, because the question is, don't you fear for your safety? And they're just like, well, there's something powerful about the nun habit that automatically causes people to recoil or to think twice about hitting, because it's a nun. You don't hit a nun. And if you hit a nun, they're going to fight back. Like nuns are not known for passivity.
Yeah. If nothing else, like the trauma of your grade school.
Yeah.
will show up.
But the sisters weren't just going to be a protest outfit. In the same year, they began their first of many fundraisers. And their very first one was a bingo disco night for gay Cuban refugees. The event was held at a local church and also marked the first time that the sisters would be mentioned in the local mainstream press, with the San Francisco Chronicle including their event for their weekend list of things to do. And in the end, the group raised $1,500, or nearly $5,000 in today's money. And they did that in one night.
Damn.
Later that year, convents would be started in Sydney and Toronto, leading to many others being founded around the world. But for this story, we're going to be sticking put in San Francisco. I also really want to mention the other event that they held in 1982, where they had a red night that they had essentially booked the Russian Cultural Center without the location knowing what they were or what they were planning to do. And they got someone to dress as Emma Goldman in drag, and she tap danced to the Internationale.
Oh my God.
It sounds fucking great. It sounds like such a fun fucking night.
That's awesome.
Yeah. From what I was reading, it was also their way of just being like, all right, people are going to call us communists at some point.
Yeah.
So
we need to just get ahead of the message.
We need to get way ahead of this. But this also brings us to why we're talking about the sisters on a political podcast. It's because they're about to dive into electoral politics. So by 1981, the sisters had made themselves known throughout the city as protest icons and champions of the downtrodden. But they had also gained many powerful enemies in the burgeoning evangelical movement that Ronald Reagan would embolden throughout the 80s. One such battle would be featured in a full-page spread in the San Francisco Examiner and an article by Burr Snyder. In the article, a group called SOS had descended on Union Square, which is kind of like the main city center location where protests happen, events happen, things like that. And SOS had been proselytizing the whole day, trying to save all the gay souls they could. And in turn, about 1,000 LGBTQ folks had shown up to counter-protest. Now, the evangelicals sang what could only be described as what they think music might be, and the protesters were blowing whistles and heckling and just having a good time. But the thing is, having that good time kind of gets exhausting after a while, and evangelical music is the same pace. So the protesters started getting tired around noon, and the evangelicals were still just as energetic as they were from that morning. And so right at noon, almost on cue, the crowd starts to part. And in come the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, just marching their way in. And I think the only way to describe it is to read Burr Snyder's article of their entrance. Quote, "Oh, what a scene. Here's Sister Homo Fellatio, tall and bearded, but looking soft and ethereal in his makeup and severe black habit. Here's Sister Mary Everready, swinging the incenser. Here's a merry foursome of Sisters missionary position, sensible shoes, Mary Rich and Loganberry Frost. Here's Madcap Sister Quaalude Conduct, mincing along in super high heels, throwing hips in all directions and intimidating the hell out of any hapless SOSer in her path. And then there's the person I'm most excited to talk about. There's Sister Boom Boom, all swathed in animal furs over his habit and made up like the Cowardly Lion. Sister Boom Boom's no coward, though. He's down on all fours, rubbing up against horrified fundamentalists like a purring cat. Quote, where are all those cute Christian boys I've been hearing about? I'm awful hungry and I came looking for some cute Christian boys to eat, but the pagans look a lot tastier to me. And this is going to be now Sister Boom Boom's story.
Yay!
I am just imagining this scene and just like, I would be dead. I'd be on the ground dying of laughter watching this. I would be terrified for Sister Boom Boom's safety at the same time, just clutching my sides.
Yes.
But other than just a completely hilarious badass, who is Sister Boom Boom? Well, Jack Fertig was born in 1955 in Chicago, Illinois, because of course he was. Now, both of his parents were avid protesters for civil rights and instilled those qualities into Jack at a very young age. By the age of 13, he would enter into politics for the first time, serving as a junior delegate at the Chicago Democratic National Convention in 1968, a year in which massive protests outside the convention became national news. At the age of 15, Jack made his way to New York City to march in the very first Stonewall March. And while he was very active in his beliefs, Jack really wasn't overwhelmingly happy. He speaks of himself as being shy, overweight, and nerdy, but above all, just really unsure of himself. In 1973, Jack would make his way to the West Coast and enroll at the University of California at Berkeley. However, he would drop out his sophomore year, stating that he found the college experience to be, quote, too constricting. Instead, Jack would work on himself and discovered his life's passion, astrology. And whether that's something you believe in or not, it spoke deeply to Jack. His partner would state that for Jack, much of his life was focused on the spiritual, of testing out religions to find which one fit him best. His father was Jewish and his mother was Christian, and by the time he made it to San Francisco, he'd been a bit of a practicing Catholic. And by the time that he left Berkeley, he'd opened himself to being more spiritual than religious. To him, it was just all a part of his journey in life. And in 1977, he opened his own astrology practice, which he successfully ran as his sole job for decades.
Oh, man.
Which I gotta say, to run an astrology business in San Francisco and to not go completely broke, I think speaks volumes. I don't have that level of strength.
Or just be clearly grifting.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a true believer.
100%. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like,
this is a dude who is earnest in his belief in this. So by 1980, Jack had gotten word of the sisters and joined very shortly as they began their work. Now, initially, his chosen name would be much longer, and I hope I get this right. He would go with the name Sister Rose of the Bloody Stains of the Sacred Robes of Jesus.
You nailed it.
That last part is very important. I have read multiple descriptions that you have to include that at the end.
That you have to end it as if you're doing a Gregorian chant.
Oh, 100%.
Yes, I love it.
But admittedly, it's a bit of a mouthful, so he shortened it to Sister Boom Boom. Also, I think now's a really good time to bring up pronouns because there's a lot of things where I was wondering what were the proper pronouns to use. And Jack had stated in interviews that he prefers he, him. So from here on out, I will be using he, him as much as I can for when he's in character and out of character.
Great.
So while we do have the comedic and thoughtful side of Jack and Sister Boom Boom, there was also something boiling underneath. From Burr Snyder's article, he mentions the sisters making their way to a restaurant in Haight-Ashbury. They sat down for dinner to a mix of laughs and jackassery from the patrons. And when they entered, the sisters also had a number of black balloons with them, one of which said the quote, "Religion is the problem, not the answer." And this caused one of the diners to walk up to the table and pop the balloon with a lit cigarette. Which is a sentence that belongs in a time capsule, but still.
Yes.
So most of the sisters sighed. One of them said, "Oh, I guess the temptation just was too much." But Sister Boom Boom, quote, "His eyes blazed under his out-to-here false eyelashes. I, for one, am prepared to kick ass.
Gauntlet thrown.
Yeah, but right before Jack was ready to start a fight with this guy, a woman from another table came over and was just far too excited asking for his autograph. And immediately he fell right into character, started camping it up, taking pictures with like the habit raised and fishnets, and just went straight from I am going to murder a person at a restaurant to welcome to camp, let's have fun. And this juxtaposition is something that defined Jack incredibly well at this time in his life. Someone who enjoyed making people happy, but was prepared to just go to war the second anyone looked sideways at him or the sisters. And the sisters would refer to him as, quote, a walking press release. Now, Jack would never end up arrested for violence, but he also made it very clear that he never once backed down from a fight. Prior to this particular article, he took it upon himself to travel the country for 40 days to spread the word of the sisters to as many people as he could, and ideally inspire people to start their own chapters. While in Minneapolis, he was confronted by some asshole who got in his face and said, quote, the Nazis should have killed all of you in Auschwitz. To which Sister Boom Boom and everyone in attendance yelled back, they did.
Thank you. Yes.
The dude then ripped Sister Boom Boom's wimple off and tore it in half, and the two immediately got in each other's faces and were eventually pulled apart. In a parting moment of Burr Snyder's article, Jack also reveals that he used to hitchhike to LA while in drag, and as a precaution, he dressed in chains for both fashion and protection, which is something that he still did as a sister. Quote, when I dress in my habit, I usually have some nice chains underneath. Now, these chains are consecrated for joyous purposes, but if anybody messes with me, I am prepared to whip them out and kick the shit out of anybody. What I mean to say is don't fuck with Sister Boom Boom.
New patron saint just dropped for me.
Yeah, as soon as I read that, I was like, you could say shit in the newspaper? And I love Sister Boom Boom.
I feel a strong connection with the anger.
It's a great name and I fucking love it. And who could possibly be better to run for public office? And in a weird twist, there really isn't anything that makes the race that Sister Boom Boom runs unique. She's running in the 1982 San Francisco Board of Supervisors election. This particular election was for 5 of the 11 spots on the board. If you're in the top 5 of the vote getters, you get on the board. If you're below that, you'll lose. And of the incumbents, 2 had close ties to housing developers, so they were probably about the closest that people could fight against. There was a former police chief of Cleveland, Richard Hongisto, who has his own fucking issues, but at this point had a fairly clean record. Republican Lee Dolson, and really any controversy anyone could have come up with the Board of Supervisors would come much later in their career. So at this point, they're just 5 incumbents that no one really has much of a fight against.
Yeah, virginal, unknown.
Yeah, it's a Board of Supervisors race in the 80s. No one's really caring at this point. So really, it's just a boring election with no major issues. So someone like Sister Boom Boom entering the fray was exactly the jolt of excitement that a race like this needed. No one would have looked at it otherwise, and now you have someone fucking amazing entering the race. Suddenly, posters started coming out. One included a close-up of Sister Boom Boom's notoriously long eyelashes with the phrase, quote, give City Hall a good lashing.
Jeez.
But the poster that would end up overshadowing this would become the icon of the campaign. It was a flyer of Sister Boom Boom riding a witch's broom over top of City Hall, leaving behind a trail of purple glitter smoke that simply said, surrender, Diane.
Oh my God.
And while, yep, that's a Wizard of Oz reference, it's also a direct call out to the then mayor of San Francisco, Dianne Feinstein, who I might add is not running for Board of Supervisors.
And at this point, I feel like is friend of the podcast with how many times she just sort of pops up in our episodes.
Every time. It's pretty much the bingo card at this point.
Yeah, it's the middle square.
But the middle square was flat tax.
You're right.
But yeah, so Diane's not running in this race. But do you know who else was? A couple of folks who also wanted to run with nicknames. You had a criminology student by the name of Andrew Jones, who on the ballot was officially named Daddy Andy Jones.
I love this.
I wish I could find out more about Daddy Andy. I could not.
I feel like this is what we are truly missing from local elections is the ability to nickname.
Oh, 100%. And Daddy Andy got 5,000 votes.
Hell yeah, he did. Because he's his daddy.
Yeah. There was also Carla Gottschall, a lawyer who, for reasons even somehow unknown to her, also went by the name Belle Starr. Look, I think there might be a hint of dementia going on with this because from an interview in 2020, she's living in Hawaii now, and someone's like, "Oh, Belle Starr, what's that about?" She's like, "I don't know." She's definitely up there, but who knows? I'm not going to be out here diagnosing people.
It wasn't a stripper name, is what you're saying. It wasn't like a
I was expecting it to be like a burlesque sort of thing,
yeah,
something like that. But no, it's just like on the ballot, it's Carla Belle Starr Gottschalk. She was a lawyer, she was an actress, and she also had her own production company that funded concerts in the city
Ooh.
park system.
Ooh.
She finished just shy of 6,000 votes. And most
Damn.
recently, like I said, she moved to Hawaii. In 2016, she ran for the Senate race in Hawaii, finishing third out of four in the GOP primary. And in 2020, she ran in the Republican primary for Hawaii's second congressional district, finishing eighth out of nine. But if a prize is going to be given to the best stage name, then clearly Sister Boom Boom's going to be the winner of this election. But it also helped that Jack wanted to run a somewhat serious campaign. While Sister Boom Boom would begin all of her campaign speeches with quotes, "Am I supervisor yet?" he also made certain to have a legit platform, just in case he was elected. Granted, there would only be one chance for him to flaunt that by an article in the Examiner that seriously dove into his campaign, because for the most part, they're like, look at this name. That's who's running.
Boom, boom. Moving on.
Well, and that had a bit more fun. When you ran for office for a board of supervisor, you had to list your profession, and Jack wrote none of the above, NUN.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, more on being able to put in your occupation later. So there was one article where they're like, all right, seriously, what's your platform? So for one, he would essentially end the police's vice squad and place all those cops on regular city beats. He also proposed the idea of saving money on city engineering by no longer offering the work to contractors and having a bidding process, but instead assigning the work to city college professors and students who are capable of doing the work. So what do you think of that idea?
I definitely understand where it's coming from. I don't know if I totally agree with it in actuality.
Yeah, because they're specifically mentioning the city sewer system as the thing that needed fixed. And I don't know if I would trust a junior on his practicum, like figuring that out. maybe for like new ideas and to like pitch things, but not being like, your thesis is going to be fixing the sewers.
Right. Well, it's tough because it is one of those things where it's like these students are under the tutelage of a professional who has spent their life within this field. So it's, you do have a little bit of training wheels in that sense. And it is this idea of like, yeah, you will like get out of this, like, that's the way it's always been done mentality as a result. And I think what happens for a lot of college students is, and especially in fields where, like design fields, where with each year, it's like the pedagogy just becomes further removed from the reality of the job itself.
Yeah.
It's just like you're thinking in like high-minded design, and then you get into the practice and you're just like clicking a mouse for 8 hours a day, like stuck in a single computer program. And so it's like, I think there is something to like legitimizing in that sense the college experience of like, yes, you are 18, you are an adult now, we're going to treat you like an adult, so here are adult problems. But I think my problem with that is just like there's this weird like the same way that college sports makes me uncomfortable. It's like where is the exploitation line in this?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's an extremely good point. Also, I think it makes it really hard to retain those workers afterwards, because if you're not going to hire places where they could work afterwards, then they're not going to stay in San Francisco.
Yes. I mean, really, it's like if the problem is that the bidding system is becoming too expensive, it's like chances are the problem actually lies in like somewhat fairly light or low level corruption within the city government, or some kind of like, I'm blanking on the word it is, but basically getting together and being like, this is the floor for costs.
Entry level. All right, no. Yeah.
Like,
okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Sorry.
Like OPEC, just being like, this is collusion. Maybe, is it collusion?
Yeah, maybe.
But anyway, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think it brings up an interesting discussion. I don't agree with it 100% either, but I think it's interesting. It's an idea that no one's come up with, and maybe there's something that could be honed from that, or it'd be a better pipeline from student to the working world.
Yeah, because I think there are great examples. I mean, the Vietnam Memorial was done by Mai Lin when she was a student at Yale in their architecture school. So, and I think like, because I know way too many architects, like all of them look at that and just like, that could happen, that could never happen today. And it's like, that is a shame. That's terrible. And that's where I get into the sense of just like, yeah, you should have opportunities.
Yeah, that makes sense. And finally, Sister Boom Boom stated that he's notoriously tight-fisted with his money, and would bring that to the city. But that also, I think, goes hand in hand with something that another one of the sisters had said, and I believe it was Sister Banana Nut Bread, who said, the only vow we've been able to keep is the vow of poverty, and that's not even been on purpose. So from my minimal experience with drag, it ain't cheap. It's not. No. It is a very expensive thing to do. So if you are working on a very limited budget and are doing drag on the side, then yeah, I imagine you could do an amazing city budget.
The fabric alone. Oh my God.
Yeah. Did you know sequins were expensive? What the fuck?
Yeah. To say nothing of like the cost of your labor putting that together.
Yeah.
Yeah. God bless.
And so finally, he was asked what he would say to folks who felt a little uneasy about voting for Sister Boom Boom. To which he said, quote, "People thought Columbus was insane. A queen took a chance on it. Take a chance on this queen. It's the American way. So despite this last-minute push for publicity, Jack had made one pretty big error. He hadn't started his campaign until Jupiter was in the most suitable position.
Well, obviously.
I know it makes sense for him, but it gave everyone else such a huge head start to begin with.
What, he's going to open up during Mercury in retrograde? Are you out of your mind?
Everyone else did, and it turned out fine.
Did it?
And sure, you could debate the seriousness of the campaign, but it's hard to argue with how seriously other people in the city took it. Because in the end, running on the none of the above ticket, Sister Boom Boom finished with 23,000 votes. Sadly, though, that would not be enough to win, finishing in 8th place, a distant 55,000 votes behind what it would have taken to put the sister on the Board of Supervisors.
Damn it.
Undeterred, though, Sister Boom Boom immediately turned around and filed to run directly against Dianne Feinstein in the 1983 mayoral race.
Yes!
And really, the timing for that was about as perfect as it could have been. You see, just weeks after the Board of Supervisors election, the new board voted to allow civil unions for all couples in the city, which Mayor Feinstein immediately vetoed. Fun fact, Dianne Feinstein vetoed civil unions.
In San Francisco, Dianne.
She also passed a bill around the same time that limited guns that was very specifically directed towards the Black Panther Party. And so this ended up inspiring a recall petition against Dianne Feinstein that successfully got put on the ballot, but did not successfully kick her out of office. But it is around this time that if Sister Boom Boom is on the ballot, she could harness a lot of this anger and potentially turn it into something. That is, if the Board of Supervisors would have just stayed and minded their own fucking business. You see, in March of 1983, the Board of Supervisors were growing really annoyed with the other, quote, cutesy names that had suddenly appeared to run against Mayor Feinstein. Here's a sampling. There was Lady Lillian Chaucer Peace, a self-described gentlewoman who lived at the Palace Hotel. There was Dr. Albion Montague Druitt, capitalist and neighbor of Lady Lillian at the Palace Hotel. There was political exorcist James Bond Zero, world's greatest pimp Ronnie B. Foxy, and who could forget, quote, genius magician, unquote, Arturus Hamilton 20.
I see nothing wrong with this list.
But king of them all, Crown Prince, would be Crown Prince Arcadia. Now, the Crown Prince was known for wearing flowing robes, a flowered hat, painted nails. Half of his face was shaved and the other half was fully bearded. And he fucking hated being called by his birth name, which was something the cops constantly did to fuck with him, which is probably why he punched a cop in 1981.
Well,
however, he had also undergone a name change from the last time that he ran for office, which was in 1973 when he ran for Board of Supervisors. And he entered the race then under the name Jesus Christ Satan. He got 5,000 votes.
Yes.
And on top of all of that, Jello Biafra, the frontman of the political punk band Dead Kennedys, was also seriously considering jumping into the race. So feeling that all these candidates were, quote, mocking the electoral process, the board would pass a law that anyone who ran for office in the city would have to use their legal name. Supervisor Quentin Kopp, which sounds like a made-up name, would even call out Jack by stage name, stating, quote, when an insulting person like Sister Boom Boom gets 20,000 votes for doing literally nothing, it's conceivable someone could get elected to the board. And just like that, the press began referring to the proposed change as the Sister Boom Boom Law.
Amazing.
And on March 22nd of 1983, Mayor Dianne Feinstein would sign it into law, effectively ending the campaigns of nearly a dozen candidates. And like I said, Feinstein would go on to survive a recall election and then win the general election with 80% of the vote. But this wasn't the last that San Francisco would see of Sister Boom Boom. You see, the Democrats had kind of, what's the phrase, fucked around and found out by putting their 1984 nominating convention in San Francisco. And the sisters
We're queer. We're Democrats.
And the sisters were not going to let a moment like this go to waste. So the Friday before the nominating convention, Sister Boom Boom led a political exorcism right outside the Moscone Center, wherein the sisters exorcised Jerry Falwell, an anti-feminist icon Phyllis Schlafly. 2,000 people watched the Sister Boom Boom and 5 novices brought a Schlafly look-alike onto the red glitter-soaked stage at Union Square and then pulled a rubber snake out of her heart.
Amazing. Oh my God.
Someone playing Jerry Falwell then rushed the stage, only for him to be immediately pantsed, revealing that he was wearing fishnets. Honestly, this sounds so fucking great. And all of the press were furious, or just incredulous at how dumb this was. When in reality, I feel like this would be the only thing you would see on Twitter for about a weekend.
100%. I also feel like everyone's being such a boner. And it's like,
yeah,
guess what? Reagan's in office. Like, give us some fucking joy.
Exactly. It's It is mind-blowing to me how a city like San Francisco that has gained a somewhat justified reputation for being out there and weird and accepting of everything is such a fucking boner at so many goddamn things. Like, if there was any city that should have accepted the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence with open arms, it should have been San Francisco. And clearly there were people in that city who fucking hated them.
Old money.
Yeah. But by 1984, the performance was starting to take its toll on Jack. In an interview in 1989, he admitted that every performance he had ever done as Sister Boom Boom was done when he was either drunk or high. He noted his breaking point came when he was putting on his makeup for another function as Sister Boom Boom and suddenly began to notice how depressed he was. He no longer enjoyed playing this character and began to wonder if he ever did. Quote, I climbed into bed and thought about suicide. I saw my room was a mess, stuff piled everywhere, weeks of dirty clothes on the floor. I decided I could scowl at the world as well at a laundromat as I could here. So I washed my clothes, scrubbed the floor, and vacuumed. And following this, he started a sobriety program and would end up leaving the Sisters in 1986. And he also noted that he had remained sober ever since. So when asked in 1989 what happened to Sister Boom Boom, he smiled and said, quote, last I heard, she was a cocktail waitress in purgatory. It also should be noted that he seemed to really love the rumors that swirled around about him after he left. One rumor in particular claimed that he had died when a group of bikers beat him to death while he was dressed as Sister Boom Boom, to which he stated, quote, I hope they at least fucked her first. I think she would have liked that.
Oh my God.
Since retiring Sister Boom Boom, Jack led a very quiet and peaceful life. He met his partner Elias Trevino in 1994. In 2001, he converted to Islam. And in 2003, he graduated from San Francisco University. And all the while, he continued running his astrology business. And Jack would, however, pass in 2012 from liver cancer. As for the Sisters, they are still going just as strong today. Celebrating their 45th year this last Easter, the Sisters have orders throughout America, Canada, Australia, Colombia, France, Germany, Switzerland, the UK, and Uruguay. They offer grants every Easter to, quote, underfunded small organizations and projects providing direct services to underserved communities. And on top of all of that, they continue to host events to raise money for local causes and host festivals and street fairs for their communities. They have a sect right here in Chicago. I believe it's called the Abbey of the Windy City. There's one in Fayetteville, which is the Abbot of the Hillbilly Harlots, which just makes me so fucking happy. But yeah, they're still doing amazing work today, still raising money, and still just kind of being a bunch of semi-blasphemous, awesome people. And that's the story of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and the one time they ran for office.
I feel like they're doing more good than 90% of the Christians in America right now.
I would not disagree with that. So I was looking at their website. Their history stops at 2016. I think it's just that they need to update that stuff as of right now. But their grants page lists a ton of organizations that got grants just this last year.
Oh.
And it's really amazing the work that they're doing. And
Muzzle.
Yeah. So here, it's such a bummer to me that, like, I kind of understand that, they don't want people running under nicknames. So this happened in Kansas. There's a Republican congressman named Ron Estes. And during the Republican primary, I believe it was, another guy named Ron Estes ran against him. And so I imagine it's good to try to stop that sort of shit from happening, or to like have your name be like Amy Klobuchar, but better.
Or Ron, quote, Ron Estes, end quote, Estes.
Yeah, like the way that they had to fix it was they had to put the word congressman in front of Ron Estes's name. And then the other guy was like Ron middle initial Estes or something like that. It was
hilarious.
It was ludicrous. I wish there was a longer story behind it, but the other Ron Estes really didn't make himself known. It seems to be a goof or a guy who's just like, this might just work and I could use a promotion.
I feel like given the amount of clowns the GOP is turning out, a la our last episode, like so long as you have a platform, like if you have put in the work of a platform, like a point of view, an agenda, a website,
yes,
go on with your like a nickname. Yeah, fucking let's make this like luchador country. Like let's just go nuts. The quote you had of like how this was making a mockery of the elections in San Francisco. It was like, no, people were probably getting jazzed to vote again. Reagan's in office. People are dying of AIDS. A little levity. Yeah,
it's fucking great.
Yeah,
but it's not like a goofy named cause someone to lose this time. It's like It's like you're worried about the future that someone who's funnier and more interesting than you is going to end up taking your job.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry that you can't get a personality in time.
And like this is also a both sides sort of thing. I know I brought him up a few times, but there's an Idaho politician who legally changed his name to pro-life, and that's how he runs.
Again, people are gonna clown and gonna clown.
And that dude's never won an election ever. It's not a risk. And there's you can mark an incumbent. There are ways to be like, look, this person named Dianne Feinstein with one N. we will mark that it's a different person. It's not fucking hard.
Yeah, and also like sometimes it is just genuinely the person's name. And here I have a personal anecdote, which is that I think at Oberlin, like people in student senate could like toss your name into the ring as a potential like student senate person. So the next thing I knew was like, oh, I'm listed to be voted on for student senate.
Episode.
Yeah, a friend of mine was like, fuck yes, I'm doing your bio. And he just cut and paste a bio of like a professional baseball player who was doing really well. Didn't change the pronouns, just the first name.
Oh my God.
So I win. It's me and like, I don't know, 8 other people. Yeah, we should do an episode because it was bonkers. This one semester I was in student senate at Oberlin, but I look around and I realize it is like United Colors of Bentonton up in here. It's like everyone with any sort of ethnic name, that's the name that got circled.
Wow.
Like, do you have like a moderately interesting name? Great. You're doing student senate.
Well, all right, yeah, all right. So if we do that episode, I think we have to talk about my time at Ploy State then.
Oh, hell yes.
All right. So these will be, during a week where I cannot do research.
Yeah.
What we'll do. We'll figure it out. And with that promise, I guess we'll see you all next week on Gadfly. Get a nickname and become a nun. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?